I'm Ge Baolai with Sharcnet from Western University. I'm also the representative on the RAC Administrative Committee for Computer Canada. So today, we're giving a supplementary presentation to the Q&A session held by the Computer Canada last week. And hopefully we can provide a little bit more detailed information to people who are interested. And I will walk you through the application process. So to answer some of the questions you might have. And I will spend probably 20 to 30 minutes to go through the information. And then we'll leave some time at the end for questions and answers. So this is the outline of the presentation. First, accessing resources and what resource allocation competition means to you and what RAC programs are available, eligibility, and how to prepare for an RAC application by the PI or a delegated person, and how the RAC allocations are actually ultimately determined. So accessing advanced research computing resources, primarily Computer Canada provides the three types of resources: compute, storage, and the cloud. And the compute includes the CPU and the GPU, and the storage is typically this is a project and nearline storage for most of the people. And the cloud is for people who might want to have some flexibility when doing the computation, and as well for running some web portals or database. So these are three major types of resources are accessed by people from across the country. And just this is a quick overview on how the resources are accessed and allocated. If you're new, the first thing you would do to get an account, once you get an account and you have access to two pools. One is a non-competitive and the other is a competitive pool. So for the non-competitive pool, the people get access to the default amount of resources. For example, 1 terabyte of a storage space on the most of the clusters, and the CPU and the GPU with the lowest priority. Basically, you can access the CPU and the GPU opportunistically, and there's no cloud resource allocation available by the default amount. And there's another portion called the RAS, or Rapid Access Services, and this is by request only typically. And people, if the people need additional storage in the cloud resources without a RAC, or resource allocation competition, this is the opportunity to get rapid access services, but no additional CPU or GPU resources available through this stream. Another pool is competitive. This is the majority amount of resources allocated to research groups across the country. We have the two programs, the resources for research groups, or RRG, and the research platform and the portals, RPP. And when you have needs greater than what you can have access to through default or RAS, which are provided within the non-competitive pool, and this is the program that you need to apply to and to get access to. The allocations typically for compute, storage, and the cloud. So what does the RAC or rapid resource allocation competition mean, and should I apply for it? You need apply for resource allocation competition if you expect your group to need more than the default amount of resources. For example, 50 core years. And we'll come to that, how to calculate the core years. And the 10 GPU years and the 10 terabytes of storage. If your group needs exist these minimum amount for the next year or for the entire year, then you should consider to apply for the RAC allocation. And the RAC allocation competitions are run once a year in the fall, and only the PI or the faculty member and eligible for the Tri-Council fundings can apply for RAC for the whole research group. But most PIs are busy, and so therefore we also allow a dedicated person, for example, a grad student or postdoc, to prepare for the applications on behalf of the PI. Okay. So what RAC is for? The RAC is for the three categories: compute, priority access to CPUs and the GPUs for prescribed amount, and the storage, access to the storage exceeding the default amount, which is 10 terabytes, or portal or cloud, and guaranteed access to a cloud and the storage. Okay. So these conditions is not the end. It's not, you don't have to meet all the conditions in order to apply. Just any one of them. Okay. Another thing is, even though your compute needs, for example, is less than 50 core years, but you expected that you will need a huge amount of memory for your application. This is especially the case for people who are doing bioinformatics, who usually need lots of memory. So even though you calculate, after you calculate that you won't need more than 50 core years, but you will need a huge amount of memory, so you might need to apply for that as well. We'll come to that just in a few moments. Okay, what RAC is not for? The RAC is not for you to have the resources set aside for you all the time. It does, so it's not going to happen that say I want to have a 100 core years compute time, then I get the resource allocated, and then for the entire year that I can use it anytime as I want. The system will be always available to me. That's not the case. That's a wrong perception. So your job is not wait in the queue. This is also a wrong idea. Okay, so the RAC is not for these two cases. So what RAC programs are available? What program you should apply? If you are new or relatively new, for new and relatively new groups, what you should consider? So currently there are two programs. The RRG stands for Resources for Research Groups. Typically, this is for compute and the storage. And the RPP, that's a research platforms and the portals. This is typically for cloud and the web virtual machines and store and the database services. Okay, if you are you are new to the RAC programs and this is the first time, then you will go through this process, new application, and the regular round. You need to file. You need to file in a full application, and for the RRG, you can apply for up to a 1-year request, and it will require a CCV or common Canadian CV. And your application is subject to a full scientific and technical review. But the application can be prepared and can be delegated. Okay. And for the RPP, this is for cloud and the portals. Again, for new application, you need to file the full application. You can ask for up to a 3-year request, and you need to submit your CCV, and your application is subject to scientific and technical review, and as well, and it can be delegated. So your application can be prepared and by a delegated postdoc or a grad student if you are too busy. If you're returning RAC allocation PIs or group, and this is the process you're going to go through. For the RRG, you want to continue your research projects, and you enter in the multi-year process, and this is what we call the fast track. So fast track is what we set to simplify your application process. The faster track is by invitation only, and this again, this is for RRG for the compute and the storage. This is by invitation only, and you will be required to submit a lightweight, a short report, and no CCV update is required, and technical review only. Your previous science score that is used to determine the actual amount of allocation you will have will be reused, but the fast track application cannot be delegated. The PI would have to complete and submit the application, fast track application by him or herself. Okay. For the RPP, if you're returning the RPP group, and this is a multi-year process, and a lightweight annual report is expected, and no CCV is required, technical review only, and science score will be reused, but the RPP multi-year process application can be delegated. Okay, this application can be delegated by a postdoc or a grad student or whoever you assign, if the PI is too busy. Okay. One other important message for the research group is the out of round application process is no longer available. What that means is during the year after the award has been announced, then if you come to us and ask, oh, I missed the last year's application, but I do need to have this amount of resources. Can I apply for a special case, what we call the out of round application? Now, this is no longer available. Okay. Just keep it in mind. So you have to plan ahead. All right. And this is from the experience and the lessons we learned in the past. For each research group, we do expect that the research group will have a well-planned the project and also a well-planned or have a well-prepared computational plan ahead of time. And the random asks during the year, it will not be considered anymore. There are some limits on the minimum amounts or threshold for RRG or RPP. For example, for the compute and the CPU, you would need to have more than 50 core years, or GPUs would need more than 10 GPU years in order to be eligible for the RAC application. And you probably have seen this from the last around the Q&A session, and also this is listed on the Compute Canada's website. The only thing here I want to point it out I want to mention is if your group requires less than 50 core years, but a very high memory per core, then you need to use this formula, what we call the core year equivalent, to calculate the core equivalent the core years, and then put it into application. So what this means is, if you are asking 50, let's say if you're asking 40 core years, but the amount of memory per core is greater than 4 gigabyte. Okay, let's say it's 8 gigabyte, or twice as much as the default amount of 4 gigabytes. Then the total amount of compute time will be multiplied by a factor of 2, whatever that memory and the core divided by 4 gig. Okay, if you're asking for 12 gig, your memory is 12 gig per core, then there'll be a factor of 3. So even though your compute request, your core years just by core count is less than 50, but if you multiply the number by a factor which is greater than 50, then you should also submit an application. Okay, and this is what we call the core equivalent, because when we schedule your jobs on the cluster, not only do we consider the number of cores you're requesting, but also the amount of memory your job is requesting as well. So that's why we also use this core equivalent metric to determine the total amount of resources you need. Okay. So next, when you apply, you should specify what cluster you want to choose from across the country: Cedar, Graham, Niagara, and Beluga. And you can apply for allocations on more than one system, but we may move your allocations to a system you didn't apply to balance the overall allocations on a system if such a move does not affect your needs. Okay, just a heads up. How to apply? The PI, in principle, the PI should prepare for the application. In order to submit an application, of course, you need to have a Compute Canada account to apply for Computer Canada account, you need to go to the CCDB and fill up the online application form and submit. And your application, the account application will be processed within 2 working days by the site leaders of Sharcnet at your home institution. And also, you can delegate a person, a grad student or postdoc, to complete an application, but they would have to have an account, Computer Canada account as well. For postdoc and grad students to get an account, they need to apply by themselves. We cannot give them accounts. We cannot apply accounts for them. Okay, they would have to apply. How to apply? Now for PI, you have to give them your Compute Canada role ID called a CCRI in a form like ABC-123-3. And you need to give this to the person you delegated to for the RAC application. And for grad students and the postdocs to get an account, first to get the CCRI from you, and then go to the Computer Canada CCDB to apply for account. And in the online application form, identify himself or herself as a sponsored user, not not anything else, but a sponsored user, and type in your CCRI and the submit application. Now, most important here, your grad students, the postdocs, and or external collaborators, the account application will be approved by you. As a PI, you will receive an email notification regarding the account application, asking you to approve your application. So make sure you check your mailbox and also spam box so you don't miss it. Okay. Important. I just repeat it again. Your grad students, postdocs, or any other users you sponsor, their accounts will be approved by you, not us. Okay. Next, consultation. It is strongly recommended that if your first time it is the first time to apply for RAC allocation, it is strongly recommend that you have a consultation. The goal is to determine whether the resources needed for your project justify submitting the RAC application, and to verify whether the project is eligible to the right program. And also, we can provide the technical assistance and opinions with a calculation of the resources needed. Okay. So you can send an email to rac@computecanada.ca, and also you may indicate an individual to consult with. You can find our Sharcnet staff and their expertise on the Sharcnet website. Click About and contact us. You will find our the staff members. If you can indicate who you want to consult with. Okay. A quick checklist: the online application form for the RAC application, and the CCV recently updated, and an application document. This application document is a supplementary document, or we used to call technical justification, which gives a detail of your computational plan and to justify your requests for the resources. The templates, we provided a template for the application documents, which will make your application a lot easier. The only thing you need to do is to fill out, expand the templates, so you don't have to do anything, write anything from scratch. For fast track for RRG, this is by invitation only, as I said, and a couple of things you need to keep in mind. And 10% increase of storage is allowed, and up to 50 terabytes. And a minor adjustment to your project description is allowed. And the change of a cluster from one to another is allowed. But the change of increase of a CPU or GPUs are not is not accepted, not acceptable. Okay. The next, I'm just going to quickly walk you how you're going to fill up the what the application form looks like and what you should do. Let me just quickly go online. By the way, the places to start with is you go to Compute Canada's website. Go to Compute Canada website. You click Access the Service and the Experts, and this is the entry of information. This is the first page, the page of research portal, and they scroll down to the end of this page. There's a link to RAC 2021 page. You click that, and you landed on the resource allocation competition page, which you will find a lot of details. For example, the key dates, the deadlines, and the eligibility, and competition guides, and two RAC programs, the RRG for compute and resource and the storage, and the RPP for cloud and the web portal. Now, if you click one of them, you will land on the detail, the page for RRG or RPP. Here's an example, the RRG competition. If you to start start an application, you can, there's an entry for you to go to a computation, sorry, application, that's apply now, or you go to CCDB, log into CCDB. These are the two places, the Compute Canada website and the CCDB. These are two separate portals. On the Compute Canada website, you will find all the public information, and the CCDB, this is the portal. This is where you can log in and see your profile, see your usage, and see your information. So you log into CCDB and click resource allocation. We already highlighted for you. Click that, you will see a drop-down menu, and then the first one here, you won't see, perhaps you won't see the rest of it, depending on your privilege. And you should see a resource application. Once you click the resource application, you should see these two categories: resources, resource for research groups, that is RRG and RPP. If you are the PI and you dare to spend your time, you have a time to spare to complete the application, click that, and you start a new application, or you can delegate a person, so that person can complete the application for you. Okay, let's go. Let's take a look at the RRG application, what the online application will look like. So click that, and you start a new application. And this is actually this application, we have already made the application a lot easier for people to apply over the years, and it's been improved. So you select the committee, and your application will be reviewed by a committee. You select the community. And the next, this is the basic information. This is about your research project. And then the secondary contact, if you will, if you don't want to receive any notifications once you complete your application, you don't bother looking at anything or doing anything with it, you can put the second person who's willing to deal with this process. then you can put the second contact here. And a co-PI, in some cases, if you have another collaborator to apply for the allocation together, this is the time, this is the place to put the co-PI. Again, you need the co-PI is a CCRI, okay? And the next, you need submit your Canadian Common CV or update your CCV. And the next, this is the place for you to submit your technical details, what we call the justification, technical justification. And this is also what we call the application document I just mentioned previously, okay? So that is a separate document in Word or LaTeX form. We provided the templates. And you submit as a PDF file, okay? And then you select the resource, new resource request, that you click that. You click this, and you get an option to select the systems across the country. Okay, so cancel. And computation, oh, it says compute utilization. This is just a historical view, and it shows your group usage in the past. Now, some people in the past have asked, what does a so the first 5 columns shows your actual usage, and the last column shows the projected usage. So what projected the usage means? This usage means predicted, estimated usage, simply, just in case some people could ask in the past, okay? And that's pretty much it. This is up to this point, and you're done. And you can save the application for later editing, or you can submit application, okay? So this is the application. And if you go back to the public Compute Canada public website, and in particular, I am on the RRG application page. The RRG application page, if you scroll down, you see there's a button Apply Now, which will take you to the CCDB to complete the online application. If you scroll down to application document, then you have an opportunity to download the template. For example, okay, let's just download the template. So both the Word and LaTeX format are available. So let's take a look at the so this application document templates, we provide this to you for your convenience. So you don't have to write anything from scratch. All you need is to follow the rules and to expand each of the sections appropriately, okay? Research methods and compute request, system selected, and so on and so forth. So we have filled up this documentation, application document for you. Try to minimize, try to keep the amount of work you need to do to the minimum, okay? But you still, you need to modify this a bit. This is just a template, but it gives you a framework to provide the information to us to show your computational requests, okay? So let's get back to the presentation here. So next, a couple of important dates. The deadline for the RPP and the RRG for the new ones are, actually the deadline is November the 5th. Okay, so it's not far away. If you haven't done the consultation, if this is the first time you haven't done the consultation yet, then perhaps that's the time to do so, because you need to give yourself and us a bit of a time before the deadline. Yeah, so these are the important days, and also you can find out the on the Computer Canada's website as well. So how the RAC allocations are determined. The two processes are involved. The one is the assessment. In the assessment stage, all the applications will receive a technical review and a scientific review. Technical reviewers will forward the comments to the science reviewers, and the science reviewers will review each of the applications and give a score to the application. And then after this assessment process is complete, the RAC Administrative Committee will meet together and go through the applications to find an admissible application with a cutoff of science score. I think this year, the cutoff science score is 3.00 as indicated in the documentation. And then the committee will apply a scaling process to the compute request and the GPU request to ensure that the total allocated amount will fit the allocatable resources. And this is how the RAC allocations are determined. Now, lastly, the sources of information, Compute Canada. If you go to Compute Canada or Calculate Canada, look for RAC 2020 page at the end of research portal. There's a link to 2021 resource allocation competition that I just showed you. And also, you want to take a look at the technical glossary, and also available on the Compute Canada's wiki page. And the Sharcnet, you go to a training.sharcnet.ca and look for seminars under Getting Help. You will find the recordings there, okay? I think I'll stop here, and we have some time to take questions from the audience.